Chair calls Delilah Crosby.
Hello, my name is Delilah Crosby. I'm representing the Crosby family, which is my family, and I am for this bill, but it could use some changes. Overall, this is a common sense bill. We should know, we should be recording what these children are saying. I personally have had experience with this. My bonus daughter actually did have an interview with a judge, and the first time around it was recorded but sealed. The second time around they changed it. They did not want that one to be recorded, and it was also sealed. Well, the judge's notes were sealed, shall I say. The reason why I believe this is important is because the first time around, our daughter had not seen us for 1 year and 9 months because of mom, solely because of mom denying access. This child then told the judge that she wanted to see us, and just like that, after 1 year and 9 months, she was given right back to us. Within a month, the mother started a CPS case and claimed sexual abuse. She put the child in counseling and said the child was having a hard time dealing with being a Black child. And the child went through multiple investigations, multiple interviews, and multiple counseling sessions. Both CPS and the counselor determined that the mother was the issue in the case. Yet, the judge did interview the child again, this time this time not recorded, and suddenly turned around and terminated my husband's rights to his daughter. So that is why I'm in favor of this bill, but I do believe that some things need to be changed in this. There should not, if there's going to be a ceiling, there should be some sort of access to Department of Family and Protective Services. I believe counselors should be able to access these things because judges do not know if a child is being coached. They do not know the psychological damage that has occurred, but there are professionals who can determine those things just by watching these interviews and what the child has said. Because my child went through 2 different interviews, it would have been clearly easy to see that the CPS investigation for sexual abuse and the counseling for saying that she had problems was the cause of her changing and basically affirming what her mom wanted in the courtroom. So I do think that that needs to be switched, and it should also say that it's required that all child interviews are recorded.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony. Let's see if there are any questions. Not hearing any. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Chair calls Delilah Crosby.
My name is Delilah Crosby. I represent myself, the Crosby family, and a lot of the fathers that I advocate on behalf of. I am for this resolution. I would like to start by saying this resolution immediately acknowledges the important roles of fathers, yet in a lot of your counties, over 85% of fathers are the non-custodial parents. The Texas Family Law Foundation will tell you that the standard possession order is basically 50-50 custody, but in reality, why is it that only fathers are placed on these orders and mothers fight tooth and nail to ensure that they're not the parent who gets 4 days to 6 days a month? Some of my background is I am a PTA president all over Mansfield and Arlington, Texas. I am also a civic leader with multiple veteran groups. I do a lot of community service everywhere. And if there's one thing I have learned, it is that the biggest lie is that there are children without fathers. I have actively brought people onto my PTA who are fathers who had trouble accessing schools. They had to join my PTA just to be involved in their child's lives. Our principals calls for doors for dads. Right there in Mansfield, Texas, we are always engaging our fathers. In Arlington, Texas, we have fathers for engaged in excellence. So we do all recognize this, but we are not legalizing it. In fact, fathers are literally told that they are simply money providers for these children. Also, I noticed that Representative Wu, respectfully, you scoffed earlier at Cody Taylor for saying that this is traumatic. This is an extremely traumatic event, and I can tell you that myself because I am the mother of 5 children. My children's father is in their life. I don't have these issues where I expect him to pay me to raise my children. But my husband, a Purple Heart veteran, permanently and totally disabled, he's allowed to raise all 5 of our children, but he's not allowed to raise one because the family court decided that mom gets to make all the decisions. It is so traumatic that we have dealt with police altercations at school events. We have dealt with him going to jail for child support, even though his Social Security disability benefits pay his child support. So it is very traumatic, so traumatic that One Safe Place took our family in for this and considered him a domestic violence victim. him, myself, and all of my children have had to go to counseling over this. And the Department of Family and Protective Services ordered his daughter to have continuous counseling for a very long time. Her counselor also testified that she needed counseling for the rest of her life for the grief that she suffers with her father not being included. So I do hope that you guys pass this resolution and consider 50-50 custody for our fathers.
All right, thank you. Let's see if there are any questions, Ms. Crosby. Any questions for Ms. Crosby? I think not. Thank you for your testimony. Chair calls Delilah Crosby.
My name is Delilah Crosby. I'm representing myself as an advocate for Team Texas Penal Code 25.03, and I am in favor of this bill. First, I'd like to say thank you, Representative Cook. You are my representative, and Mansfield PD has tried to enforce this, the current interference with child custody. Not only has Mansfield PD, I have been successful with Waxahachie PD, I have been successful with constables in Dallas, and I have been successful with Mesquite PD. This is because I'm a woman. None of these fathers have been able to advocate for themselves, but I have been able to successfully advocate on their behalf to get these orders written up, these charges written up, I apologize. But the DAs is where we cut off. So if we're gonna have the DA saying, we can't charge this, we can't move forward with this, then we must move towards another solution, which is a civil penalty at this point. Our group, Team Texas Penal Code 25.03, originally had 13,000 members and growing. That group ended up hacked. We have since been growing in massive numbers still, even with our hack. And that right there shows that this is a continuing issue. Another issue about this is that if a father were to deal with interference and we are turned away, we are told we have to pay about $7,500 and up just to get back into the courtroom to get new orders, new temporary orders. And those attorney fees are never awarded to these fathers who had no choice but to go back to court. They already have orders that are not being enforced. Also, if we start writing up this as a civil penalty, that would become evidence for family court issues. That would be evidence to show the mental health effects on these children. My nephew has not seen our family for over 5 months now. Mother is in contempt of court orders, but father cannot afford an attorney right now. So we won't be able to see him until father can afford an attorney. If we put this through where the municipalities will be able to handle it, we'll move quicker with these issues instead of burdening the family court with more trials and cases. Also, I wanted to address your concerns about how the police will confirm that this is true. I kind of look at it as like child support. If fathers will say, I paid cash though, but I did provide diapers, but I did do that. And the courts will say, well, we didn't see it, so now you're gonna go to jail. This is kind of the same thing. Like, this is the orders, you could say that, but these are the orders, so we're gonna go by this, and police are not the law. So they just need to write up the charges and let the courts decide that. And then from the civil court, that father can now take it to the family court to truly address the custody battles and the issues that are going on with the high conflict parent. And as we stated, police officers do know the same address. As I've stated, I've had to do this numerous times with my own family, unfortunately. And Waxahachie PD eventually was able to get mother to start giving us the child. But that doesn't always happen, especially not for the fathers. So I do recommend that, yes, the language maybe needs to be clearer on how the police are going to. I already tell these fathers that court order you have, make sure you have a certified copy in your car at all times. It's more important than your birth certificate at this point. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a father go down to Mesquite PD and provide it in advance because we knew that mother was going to be violating the court order. And since then, the constables have assisted him. They have reached out to mother, and they have been able to resolve the situation. But it stops right there. It depends on who wants to help us. So this would bring a lot of resolve to this issue.
All right, thank you, Ms. Crosby. Any questions for Ms. Crosby? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience, too. Chair calls Delilah Crosby. Oh, there she is.
My name is Delilah Crosby. I am speaking on behalf of the Crosby family, and I am against this bill. So I'm against this bill because most of the times we are required to respond to a lawsuit in family court. We don't even have a choice, and if we don't respond, as you can see, my husband's rights were terminated because we could not afford an attorney. We did this for 7 years. My family had to live out of a food bank to afford our attorney fees. It is absolutely ridiculous the cost to go to these battles. Right now, the average is about $7,500 to get these started. We have spent closer to $40,000 at this point. We won every time we were willing to pay, but we went through periods of time where we could not afford it, so we would not see our child. There's a huge issue with this because, in our case, the opposing counsel, Kenneth Lundberg, regularly filed that my husband was not paying child support, and we would have to pay attorneys to go prove that he was. He would regularly file all kinds of motions, and we would regularly have to fight back, TROs, just the most ridiculous lawsuits, and we won every single time. We went through 2 CPS cases. His hands were involved with both of those cases and with 2 different counselors. All were in our favor. And then he went on the stand and asked for $29,000 from my disabled husband. The court did not approve that. They did not grant that. They also dropped all my husband's arrears, but they also terminated his rights. And my husband could not afford to pay those fees anymore. I also just started pre-law school. I'm sorry, I didn't just start, I'm almost done. And what I have learned in all my classes through all my professors, which are former lawyers and judges and all of the above, is that they tell me I'll be rich in family court. It's not a great place to be, but you'll definitely be rich doing it. And I find that to be appalling. Everyone knows that this is a money-making business. I actually, when my first divorce, sounds crazy. When I went through a divorce, we were supposed to pay $3,500 to an attorney to do a contested divorce. We ended up doing it ourselves, and it cost us about $160, and it took no more than 2 hours of our time. That includes driving to actually file it, the notary, anything. The total hours was about 2 hours, so I don't understand how $3,500 for a contested divorce makes any sense at all. Also, a lot of these fathers are given billable hours, and when we look at these billable hours, there's these charges where reading an email, a 2-line email, is being charged $325 or something of that sort. It does not, I'm pretty sure we can all confirm, it does not take us an hour or 15 minutes to even read a 2-line email, nor should it cost $325. But the fact of the matter is that attorney fees are nothing for the wealthy, but it does hurt the poor and the middle class, and that is something that we should not be forcing upon them to cause further debt. That's money that could go to these children. It could go towards their college degrees. It could go towards their any other fees, really, extracurriculars, counseling, whatever they need going through this. But overall, we should not be forced to pay fees when we are forced to respond. And yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for Ms. Crosby, members? Not hearing any. Thank you, Ms. Crosby, for being here.
This time the chair calls Delilah Crosby.
My name is Delilah Crosby. I'm testifying on my own behalf as an advocate for fathers, and I am against this bill. Once again, this bill is going to affect fathers. They are the majority of non-custodial parents in Texas. There's multiple issues with this. If the language could be changed, or there could be set guidelines as to determine the need for childcare, then I may be in favor of it, but at this time it does not provide guidelines to prove that a mother may need childcare. For example, Flamingo Island Daycare in North Texas is not willing to accept payments from 2 different parents, and father is not willing to pay mother for in cash as she prefers so that she can pay this daycare, and then they would not provide a receipt to prove that, which would be giving her the opportunity to take him back to court so that he has to now argue that he did pay it and he could face a penalty in court. Not only that, he is a Native American, and his family believes in tribal community. So he has grandmothers, aunts, sisters, and everybody willing to watch this child, and mother will not agree to that. So if there's an option for that takes out the cost for both parents, that should be the primary guidelines, as we do encourage family engagement, not just fathers. So with that, I'm going to be against this bill in hopes that language will change to create more clear guidelines on how we even determine that mother truly needs the daycare costs paid for.
Thank you, Ms. Crosby. Members, any questions? If not, thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it.